Welcome to the Product Bakery podcast. My name is Christian. I'm Alex, and together we present you the ingredients to build the right products. Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Product Bakery podcast. Finally, another episode again from Christian's couch. We're breaking a little bit we're officially not breaking the rules because 2 households are allowed even in Corona times in Berlin. And there was one thing that we discussed. I think it's a really good idea to try to not only have interviews regularly on Thursday, but to also maybe have more casual sessions where we simply talk about everyday topics, about our own experiences, and try to discuss what's currently important in the product design engineering world.
Yes. It's a little bit hard for me though to talk to Alex, because when I look in his face, I see he's super tense at the moment, coming back from his Portugal trip.
Well, it's probably also not the thing to share.
I think so.
Officially, we're not traveling, right? No, but to be honest, we all know current times, right? And I think getting out every once in a while from the house is super important. And I went to Portugal mainly because I had to visit a friend of mine. He just recently became dad, and he's not only a very good friend of mine, I was also the best man when he got married to his wife. So I think it was a very important life event that I definitely didn't want to miss. So despite Corona, I think even with all the measures in place, traveling is, I would almost say, even safer than it used to be before, because airports are empty and you can keep a healthy distance from people without being the person who needs too much private space. So I think from that aspect, and I tested negatively.
Did you travel with public transport a lot, or did you rent a car for your trip?
No, we were entirely, we flew to Faro, which is in the south of Portugal, where we rented a car to then pretty much drive through Portugal. We went all the way up to Porto, where my friend lives. And I think that's actually a really good thing, because speaking also about user experience topics that are generally always on top of my mind when I'm doing things, when I'm looking at things, there was one thing that stuck with me from riding from Faro to Porto, which was the rental car we had was a small VW Polo, so really nothing crazy, and no advertisement here, we're not affiliated with Volkswagen in any way. But I think there was one thing. So I'm not a big fan of air conditioning, so I would simply, Portugal still has very good weather.
Why are you not a fan of air conditioning?
I don't know. It's usually too cold.
What? That's the best invention on the planet. You can configure how warm it should be.
No, but it's yes and no, because I don't want this cold air in my face. I really love having this breeze of air that you get when you open the window. And so for me, usually, if it's not Dubai with 50 degrees Celsius.
But you have, even in Germany, at hot summer days, 50 degrees in your car when you are stuck in traffic. Okay,
yeah. And then air conditioning is definitely a good reason. But I don't want to get too deep into air conditionings, yes or no, because there's good reasons for air conditionings. There are places where, in my apartment, I wish to sometimes have one. But so what do I do? I generally just open the window to get some fresh air. And while doing that, I realized that there was still air coming out of the air outlets from the air conditioning.
While the window was open?
Yes, and the air conditioning was off. And I was okay, fuck Volkswagen. They screwed something up here. If I turn off the air conditioning, I don't want to get air. Until a few hours into the drive, I realized that whenever I would close again the window, there's no air coming in from the air outlets. So obviously, like my technical mind, I wanted to understand this a little bit better, so I tested around. And whenever I pressed the window button, automatically, like the airflow also did not only come through the windows, but also from the outlet in the car.
Were there any lamps blinking?
No.
I just want to double check.
Nothing was blinking, nothing was. And I think usually you would probably not even realize it. But so my assumption here is that whoever was in charge of figuring out how to best solve their air system in the car thought about why would someone open a window? And obviously, okay, there are just a few reasons why you open a window. Maybe, I don't know, bad smell in the car. Okay, you want to get some fresh air. Maybe you don't like air conditioning and you prefer to get like air from outside. You would open it. And I think it's
Or you are at McDonald's at the drive-in.
or that. True that. Fair point. I'm not a big McDonald's guy, but
This was a lie. If there's one person on this planet who loves cheeseburger, it's Alex.
yes, okay, got me there. But I'm not like, I don't feel like a McDonald's person. It's more like these starving when you haven't had any food for a while.
Back to the topic.
Yes, let's go back to it. I think it's about understanding the intention of what you want to do when opening the window and anticipating also a little bit like that and combining it with, in that case, allowing me to get more air. So they know I want to get air, I open the window, so therefore they open the gates, however the technology behind it works, to let the airflow in through all outlets. And I could still close the outlets individually. And I thought about it. It's such a small detail, but it's like really also where the whole product work comes down to it. You need to anticipate the intention of a user for whatever you do. And still in the same car, I had another example that showed me that, which is I love driving with a cruiser so that it holds my speed, especially when I drive for a long time. And yeah, it's a little bit also like to keep my gasoline to not consume too much and whatsoever. And as it was just a small car, there was no cruiser, but there was a limiter, which is the one that you can set so that you can hold the speed limit. And so I set the speed limit that I don't get over whatever.
200 kilometers per hour.
It's a Polo. Think about that.
With some wind coming from the back.
Yeah, no offense. With 200 kilometers an hour, you don't open the window. But so you have the limiter, and the limiter doesn't let you go over a specific speed limit. And the interesting thing is I was surpassing a person on a car on the highway, and I simply went full into the accelerator, and suddenly, with a beep, the car gave me the hint that it turned off the limiter and it allowed me to accelerate. And also here, I was thinking, okay, it's actually against what limiter means because it should limit me to hold the speed. But at the same time, there is someone thought about why would I, in that second, kick into the pedals? And I would accelerate because I want to gain speed. And I think purely by looking also in the way I would accelerate, they understood my intention and anticipated that they need to turn it off so that I can actually surpass this car. And yeah, I think it's just two small examples that in the physical world that actually made me thought about a lot of things. And like just last week I was in Portugal. And just this week at work, we were like on the project that I'm currently working on, we were interviewing some customers and it was like for a financial service. And there was this one girl and she was we were talking about also the way she books for her vacations and so on, looking a little bit like into also how digital her experience is or how tech savvy she generally is also in the way she would use apps to book flights, trips, and so on. And there was one thing that was interesting because she was a very tech savvy person. She had literally every single digital device that you can think of. Is it a smartwatch? Is it the e-reader, iPad, iPhone, computers? Like really
Kindle, everything.
everything. More digital than me, probably. I don't have a smartwatch. And she told me that when she goes on a big trip, she does the check-in at the gate. I was like,
Why is that?
yeah, I was like, why would you do that? Why not? And the thing was like, she does it because she wants to get the printed ticket as a memory and then puts it in her physical photo album. And it's like all these little things. Like you need to think about what is like the intention of someone when they do something.
What is the job to be done?
Yeah, exactly. And in her case, the ticket was more than just like getting onto the plane. It was like this whole experience also of having this memory of this nice trip. And it's obviously different from, okay, I'm traveling to Africa for 3 weeks and doing some safari, to I'm just like going on a short trip in the city. And I think this is also like where the whole topic of user experience becomes so wide, and where research also becomes so important. And we had it in our past episodes. It's really also about, for each little thing, understanding why do people do it? How do people do it? What's the motivation behind it? I think that's also something Nikki pointed out, like really in a nice way. And you need to focus on this motivation and try to design the experience that oftentimes is more than just an interface.
I think on an airport, it makes sense to print out a ticket for many reasons, right? There are legal reasons, your phone couldn't work, etc. But if you go back,
Yes and no, because I haven't printed a ticket in ages.
but you have a smartphone and you are tech savvy. Old people are not.
She had a smartphone too, and she did it for a different reason. So it's not about, like, for her the ticket doesn't solve the job that it solves for other people who do it because they are not tech savvy, or they're afraid of not being able to use their phone, or low on battery. Could also be a job. For her, the job was like, I want a memory. And it's about advocating for that. I'm not like, I haven't thought it further in terms of how could I give her the same experience also in the mobile world.
The question with the car from my side is, what is the job there, or what is the experience there the builders, the car builders and the people who develop the software were thinking of? Because if I look at the car industry in general, I still have the feeling they are years behind.
Why do you think that?
Why am I thinking this? It's very easy. Now these days, cars are getting developed, we're getting smarter and smarter. So you have a technical ecosystem within the car that does more than, for example, only playing music or showing you where to drive. But if you just look back 5 years ago, I was once at a talk, I don't remember which conference it was, but there was a user experience designer from Volkswagen. And she was talking about the navigation systems they are building within the car. And I asked her, hey, why are you not just building cars without a navigation system? I just stick in my iPad with a 3G connection or 4G connection and I have 10 times more user experience functionalities and abilities within that piece of hardware in my car than buying what you are providing out of the house. And I still think that the whole car industry needs to wrap up when it comes to the whole user experience within the car and do way more research on understanding with the technical tech stack that is available right now how to build the best user experience.
But I think the first example that you made is partly solved by things like CarPlay from Apple. And I think that's really good because
Absolutely.
the car gives me this interface that I want to have. I would never bring my iPad into my car and put it in. And I think like also for compatibility reasons, like you would have to design for just like endless amounts of devices that people might have. And internet, as you said, is also a topic. I think what cars solve really well, that you can use their navigation system pretty much everywhere without having to access internet. But when you have a smartphone, when you have the internet connection, being able to simply drop it, and with NFC technologies and so on, like you literally just drop it in the car, it automatically connects. I have the same interface on the car screen, and I can use both my phone and my car screen, even though I shouldn't use my phone when driving. I think kids, this is now a short educational part. Whenever you make your driving license, don't use your phone while driving. Don't drink and drive. And yeah, whatever. You get the point. But I think that's partially solved there. Nevertheless, I think it's these little details, though, that go beyond now the touch interface of whatever I can do in the car. But like really also, I see the industry trying to understand much more the user, the driver in that case, that's sitting in the car, and to understand all the different jobs.
Do you think, looking at the two examples you gave, it's research and thought through enough?
I personally...
As a user?
No, I personally, in that scenario, I think it's really well thought through. Now, one thing that I was wondering is like, how much was it actually on purpose? Because I think that's also something, like if it was on purpose, I think it's very well thought through. There might be different parts, but I think like generally the technology that we nowadays see, purely also on the driver's assistant side, and I'm not talking about entertainment side in the car, because that's, I think, the point you're referring to a little bit. When we talk about driving assistance, there is a lot of intelligence and research that goes into the cars. Things like detection of how tired I am based on the way I steer. Because it's a lot of people, it's fun that I have so many conversations about cars. But I had this conversation with quite some people about this whenever the car tells you that you're tired and you have to go to the next stop. There is not a camera that looks at your eyes in most of the cases. And it's also not a timer that's, oh yeah, you're driving 3 hours now, you better should take a stop. But it analyzes the way you steer, the way you react to some things. Like if you have faster reactions every once in a while and so on, the car interprets this based on also patterns that they analyze over and over again. And I think it's so beautiful actually that all these cars are also connected nowadays, that it is a massive growing infrastructure of data and there is so much knowledge. I do think that a lot of these things are already being leveraged quite well. And at the same time, I'm very curious on where this whole industry goes to.
Do you believe in autonomous driving?
I definitely do. And I really hope it's something that comes rather earlier than later. Not because I don't like driving, but I think thinking also about sustainable driving and the biggest pain, for example, which is traffic jams and stuff like that. I personally believe that you could remove a lot of these pain points by having autonomously driving cars that leverage the whole infrastructure, that know who's on the streets, how fast they're driving. If you don't have anyone who abruptly brakes for no reason in the middle of the highway, you don't have traffic jams. But
we would need to filter these people just out.
No, I think if a computer drives, they're steady. Like you can keep a steady speed. So usually it should flow much more naturally. But
there's also this aspect of the technical possibilities and the potential on, for example, reduced traffic jams, etc. But on the other hand, what about the user acceptance? Because from my side, I would definitely love to take advantage of the benefits. But on the other hand, I just like to drive.
What's bigger, the advantage of having a self-driving car, using the time productively, or having the joy of driving? You can still go to whatever racing court and drive.
Yeah, I just should pick up my Ferrari and go to Nürburgring.
Yeah, you can give me that car. These product coaches. But yeah, I'm not too afraid that it's about that the acceptance problem is too big. I think the bigger challenges, and I'm probably not the best person to talk about it because there are people who are much more into the topic. Like for me, it was more about pointing out this two small details that I found, but as we're talking about it, the bigger problem is, first of all, adoption. Because for the system to like really, if I talk about a natural flow of cars, it means you need to have 100% adoption rate. Every car in the street needs to be fully connected and automatically driving to avoid such things. Otherwise, you still have the human error factor in between. And then secondly, and this is a super interesting topic, the whole ethical question of machines taking decisions. And I would probably stop it here because I think it would be great if maybe also someone from the audience, or if someone knows someone who is like really deep into these topics, could even join us for a chat in the podcast. But I think the point I was trying to make earlier wasn't necessarily going in the direction of like self-driving cars or the car industry necessarily. I think to wrap it up, it's more about when you think about user experience, thinking of the overall user experience and the end-to-end interactions that a user has, looking at all the different intentions that the users have and the goals and motivations behind it, to pick up the words that also Nikki used talking about research, because I think the biggest delights happen especially in these details, and the biggest and the most successful and best experiences are the ones that are invisible, that are like the foundation of how you use the different products, and not only the visual interface that translates then the end interactions.
And I also believe that it is a huge work to completely understand what kind of jobs someone wants to do in a car, because there are people who spend maybe a whole day in a car, hours, days, weeks, months. They're doing so many things in a car. And since we are all humans, there is no end to the interactions that we are having and that we are doing on a regular basis.
But even more than that, right? In so many different places, we work together on SumUp. Also we had this small device to accept card payments, or SumUp still has the small device to accept card payments. But also in the research, there were some things where we tried to look beyond also the interfaces. And we had some ethnographical studies in different shops where we only tried to look at like the end customer trying to pay at this device to understand the full context. And just to paint you the picture, usually when you go into a shop and you buy something, it's a Saturday and you've been to another shop before, you maybe have your shopping bag in your hand, you're standing at the counter, everything like is nicely packed so that you can also take that bag with you, you already hold it in your hand. Now you're already struggling to get out your wallet or your phone for Apple Pay, and suddenly you're standing there with your two bags in your hand, the wallet, under your arm, the card in the other hand, and you need to interact with this little device. And if you only think about the interaction on the device, there is so much that's being lost when you don't look about the whole ecosystem, and when you don't think to also anticipate what is like the intention that someone has, and what is like the whole context that someone wants to perform the topic. Like opening the window might be, as you said, at Mac Drive, I probably have a different intention than when I'm driving with 70 kilometers per hour, versus again when I'm driving on a highway with 180 kilometers per hour, as we're sending from Germany here. Yeah, I think it's really about the whole end-to-end experience and about trying to understand that one to its best.
If you are from the car industry, artificial intelligence industry, etc., drop us a line at hello@product-bakery.com.
And obviously, if you have some feedback to this new format, if we should continue doing it like this, as said earlier, the interviews will remain on every Thursday, and every once in a while, we will also make sure to share some of our personal thoughts.
Cool, Alex. thank you very much and looking forward to talking to you again.